Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is the LG Ultragear 27GL650F-B gaming monitor, and in my opinion, this is still the best overall work/gaming monitor under 20,000 rupees. Heck, it even competes very well against monitors in the 22,000 rupees range. So in this video, I'll give you the reasons why I considered purchasing this monitor over others and why this might be the perfect monitor for you. But before we begin this video, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Alright, first of all, let me tell you what were some of the criteria that I had set for myself before purchasing this monitor. First is the budget, of course. 20,000 rupees with a little wiggle room to spend up to 22,000 rupees if the monitor is really worth it. Second is the size, which has to be 27 inch. 27 inch is the perfect size in my opinion for a mixed use case of productivity and gaming, especially at this tight budget. Close to 100% sRGB coverage, which these days honestly most monitors tend to cover, even the ones available at 12,000, 15,000 rupees. Good contrast. Contrast is very important as contrast provides depth to the image being displayed. Minimum 300 nits of brightness, full screen sustained in regular SDR mode. At least 2 display inputs. If HDMI, then it has to be HDMI 2.0 or DisplayPort 1.4. HDMI is preferred because my current laptop doesn't have any DisplayPort port. And finally, a high refresh rate, a minimum of 144 Hz. So based on these 7 criteria, after a lot of research, I narrowed down to 2 monitors. This LG Ultragear and the BenQ Mobius EX2710S. The BenQ was a bit more expensive as it has built-in speakers, a slightly higher 165 Hz refresh rate, and slightly more eye-catchy design, with the stand also supporting swivel motion. However, the reason I chose the LG over the BenQ is that the BenQ only reaches its peak brightness of 400 nits when in HDR mode, whereas in regular SDR mode it falls just shy of 300 nits of brightness. The reason I'm stressing about SDR brightness is because these monitors are really poor in handling the HDR signal due to multiple reasons, and more often than not, the image quality in HDR is often worse than in SDR. So HDR is not really recommended in any of these monitors. As for this LG, this can do 400 plus nits of sustained full screen brightness both in SDR and HDR. Which means I don't have to enable HDR if I want that high peak brightness to combat glare in a bright room. This sets the LG apart from almost all of the monitors under the 25,000 rupees price category. So let's take a look at the LG. Well, from a design perspective, it looks okay, kind of generic, not too flashy. The bezels are thin enough, the stand feels solid and is pretty heavy, which prevents the monitor from wobbling too much. The stand features height adjustment, tilt, and rotation to portrait mode. There is no swivel, however. The back has 2 HDMI 2.0 ports and 1 DisplayPort 1.4 port, 1 3.5mm headphone jack, and the barrel port for power. The monitor comes with a DisplayPort cable and not HDMI. Luckily, I had a HDMI 2.0 cable. The OSD of the monitor can easily be navigated with the joystick in the middle underneath the bottom bezel. And let me breeze through the OSD to show you what's available.
It sound right, boys.
Alright, now let's get to the main show. That is the panel itself. So this is a 27-inch 1080p IPS panel running at 144 Hz. Now I know what you're thinking. 1080p at 27 inches? That's not ideal, right? And I would agree with you. And I already knew at 27 inches, 1440p is the ideal choice. However, at 20,000 rupees or below, it's really difficult to find any 27-inch Quad HD monitors at all. And even if you get, you have to sacrifice other features like brightness or refresh rate. And I'm not gonna lie, you can clearly spot the pixels if you are close to the monitor. However, at a typical working distance from a 27-inch monitor, pixelation is not that visible. You can spot it if you look at very small elements, but otherwise, in my opinion, it's acceptable. Quad HD would be great, but given the budget, I'm satisfied with the image. However, the rest of the panel performance is pretty damn good. I don't have the tools for monitor panel testing, and so I'm going to refer to my favorite site for independent monitor testing, that is ratings.com. Now obviously not all panels are the exact same, but this should provide a very close estimate. With regards to color gamut coverage, this panel covers 96% of the sRGB space and a pretty good 75% of the Adobe RGB space. DCI-P3 is less than 80%, which is expected at this price. This is pretty much a standard gamut monitor and doesn't have wide color gamut support. One thing good about being a standard gamut monitor is that colors don't appear oversaturated and out of the box accuracy is pretty good, with average color delta E below 3 and very accurate white balance. Gamma is less accurate though. However, with some basic calibration, you can get colors really pretty much on point. The next best thing about the monitor is the brightness. As I said, this is probably the only monitor in this range that can sustain 400 plus nits of brightness full screen. This means you will have no problem with this monitor in a room with a lot of ambient light or beside a window. In HDR mode, it does go slightly brighter, but this is pretty much what they call a fake HDR monitor, and I'll make a different video on HDR on monitors like this. In short, don't bother turning on HDR for this monitor. Now, being an IPS panel, it has pretty great viewing angles. However, being an IPS panel, what it's not good at is contrast and backlight bleed. It's just a weakness of IPS technology that LG hasn't been able to overcome even with modern nano IPS panels. So contrast on this panel is just above 1100 to 1, which is average. There is no local dimming, and also you cannot expect local dimming at this price, by the way. Now, being an IPS panel, this also suffers from IPS glow or backlight bleed. Here's a worst case scenario with the screen at maximum brightness with a full black screen, and you can see the areas where the bleed is happening. Now, this is a pretty unrealistic scene, so here's what it looks like when playing a dark video in a dark setting, and here the backlight bleed is not too distracting, and during the day you don't see any backlight bleed. However, when watching 21:9 movies though, and especially at night, you do see some of the bleed from the bottom, but you get used to it. You know, buying an IPS panel, you should be expecting similar performance. This is just an IPS characteristic. Not to end the panel performance review on a negative note, let's talk about response times and motion performance. Now, according to ratings.com, the best overdrive setting is faster at 144Hz, and in this setting the pixel response times is less than 5 milliseconds, which is perfectly adequate for all the transitions to take place within the refresh window, with very low overshoot which is not even noticeable. And unlike VA panels available in this price range especially, there is no issue with dark level smearing. Motion is always super clear. Now, this makes the monitor very well suited for fast-paced, high FPS shooting games, although I'm not into competitive gaming. What I play mostly though is casual AAA titles, and since this monitor supports FreeSync Premium with a range of 48Hz to 144Hz and also G-Sync compatible, although G-Sync can only be enabled over DisplayPort connection, there is no screen tearing and it feels buttery smooth even if there are frame drops in between. Overall, the monitor is the best in this price range with good color reproduction, fantastic sustained brightness for the price, and great motion performance. The only weakness is contrast and backlight bleed, but it's the same for most IPS panels regardless of the price. At just 17,000 rupees, the price I paid for this monitor, I'm fully satisfied. Alright guys, that's all about the LG 27GL650F-B. If you would like to purchase this monitor, then I've got affiliate links down in the description. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then please hit the subscribe button and turn on notification. That's it guys, take care and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.